You definitely got him with some crisp timing attacks. Let's put it that way, mate. Oh, this is going to be great, dude. Down here in the bottom left side of the map, we're going to be introducing the Protoss player. It's Hecate in the red. He is Stats.
Top right side of Hecate, we are looking in the main base of the man who's no stranger to Katowice. Had plenty of deep runs here, but he's in a bit of trouble in this group. Needs to get a win on the board. It's Mystery Gaming's Bunny.
Hecate's an interesting map. You've got decent drop angles and that sort of stuff. It's kind of medium distance. This is the matchup where we see it come out a little bit more often. Does get vetoed when you've got things like Terran versus Zerg and the like. But Stats has shown not a big departure from the past, right? I was wondering, is he going to come out and cheese it all or anything like that? But he's been kind of trying to just be solid defensive. It's the Stats that we know and love.
Well, he definitely did things a tiny bit different because he went 2-base Storm, which I know Heroes sometimes does, but most players in the Western scene are all about the Blink Stalkers and Colossus 3-base or 4-gate Blink Stalker all in. Every now and then they'll sprinkle in a Phoenix Colossus or a Phoenix Zealot build. You don't see the 2-base Storm opening all that often. I don't know if that was actually the original plan or if that was the plan that he went for after he took a lot of damage. There's one more thing I didn't mention yet, in Oceanborn. I think I had a little discussion with Rainer, even though Rainer is a Zerg player, he's obviously a fan of the game and he watches all these games as well. And he's like, how the hell did Stats know, by the way, in Game 2? And I was like, I don't know, because the observer showed us. Mapu, by the way, is obviously doing a great job per usual. He showed us the vision of Stats, and all he saw was a barracks and an expand. He saw nothing else, and then he actually walled himself in, and he put all 3 Stalkers in the main. Like, he could stare into the soul of Clem, and he knew that Clem was going to go for a Hellion drop. And unfortunately, that Hellion drop still found like 8 probes initially, which is somewhat acceptable as a Protoss. It's a bit more than you'd love to see, but 8 probes you can live with. Unfortunately, then the Hellion showed up again. They got 3 more. That's kind of like the tipping point where it really does become good for the Terran. But I was just kind of sitting there, like, how was he so certain this was going to happen when he saw nothing that indicated this was going to be a Hellion drop?
That's interesting. Yeah, I can't remember the exact builds in this game, but I hadn't thought about that. I always admire it when a Protoss player can get a tiny little bit of information and go, hey, let's just play super safe. There's a high chance of some sort of drop in the main, wall off the front and shut it down. It's going to be a Stargate to kick things off for Stats. And of course, the Hellion just for scouting for Bunny. This is a very standard opening for Bunny.
What's fun to think of is that yesterday in Stats, his first game against Clem, he also went Stargate and he went for an Oracle. Now, Oracles have not completely fallen out of the meta, but you don't see them that often just because Cyclones are cheaper than they are before and are incredibly good against Oracles. Now, that game, it kind of ended before it ever truly began. It was over after 4 minutes and 5 seconds. After the Adepts could not kill the bunker, a Stalker died to a Cyclone. Bunny's going to play very different as Stats is going to shade these 2 Adepts on top of the ramp. And you know what? So far, so good, as he is going to kill all 3 Marines. He will lose one of the Adepts. He might get an SCV here as well. That's a trade that I'll gladly take as a Protoss. You get a great scout off. You know it's a Hellion. You lose 1 Adept. You kill 3 Marines and an SCV. I love it.
Fantastic start. And it's good because you really put the Terran on the defensive. The Hellion's going to get across a bit later. If you can stop him scouting that you've gone Phoenix here as well, then that's the cherry on top of the cake. Because if the Terran player commits to, say, a Widow Mine drop, flies in, you've got 4 Phoenix waiting for it. It's a terrible opening for Terran.
Yep, and Bunny is going to check and he sees 2 Adepts. He might be thinking that this could potentially be a Stargate. I'm sure that Bunny has taken a look at those replays from yesterday and he knew that an Oracle was built. And yeah, the Oracle didn't do anything. In the end, the Hellions are going to reveal themselves, or at least the Phoenixes will reveal themselves by lifting up this Hellion. This is probably going to force Bunny to keep these units at home for a little while longer. It is not a bad idea to still try to drop against Phoenix, but you need to take a very awkward route. You really need to be way on the edge of the map, because if you go through the center, it's just way too risky that the Phoenixes find you.
Usually the best bet is waiting until you see the Phoenix arrive, and you're just waiting there, and you go, oh, you're harassing my base? Okay, now I can go for the drop. Now I can go for the Raven harassment. But I think he's just going to back off and chill. Going into, of course, the 3 racks, we'll see Stim, Combat Shields, and +1. And for me, the big curiosity is how much do we lean into the aggression? Against a Phoenix Colossus player, you can try to slow down the 3rd, but straight up killing and overwhelming them is a long shot. And that's why a lot of Terrans will actually skip a bit of Marine Marauder production, get that 3rd command center started as fast as possible.
Yeah, Bunny is going for pretty quick stim and +1, but I'm kind of with you. Like, if Bunny wants to do something about a quick third base of the Protoss, then you kind of need to go like Cyclone, maybe a Viking as well, and then you can rally 8 Marines and medevac a couple Cyclones to the other side of the map, and until the Colossus is out, it's a very uncomfortable army for the Protoss to fight. Right now, it seems that Bunny has a very different idea, and maybe he's going for what we sometimes like to call the Big Gabe approach, where you just wait until you have stim and combat shield, then you sneak 8 Marines to the other side of the map. But this Observer is going to give Stats the heads up. Honestly, this might actually be good news for Bunny that this got revealed so quickly, because imagine if this medevac gets scouted in the top left. But what you can obviously do is just wait forever with a single 8 Marine drop. As well, that Observer actually gave vision to that Widowmine all the way there. Stats is playing a very clean game so far, Piggy.
Yeah, the surveillance mode is very powerful on that Observer.
It's a move as well.
It is a move, yeah. Siege on Siege there, get that plus 25% detection and sight range. And of course, it is the F2 friendly ability for those players that like to F2 their army without pulling their observers away.
That would never be me, Pig.
It's definitely me.
It's definitely me too.
We know Hero loves that ability as well. Probably the best player in the world to love spamming it out. But the first pressure's coming forward. I feel like he's lost so many Marines and Widow Mines already. It's nowhere near as scary as it could be.
Nope, and obviously Stats knows about it. He goes for the recall. We've got a Colossus out. Wouldn't hate one more pylon here, by the way. I don't like the idea of having a single pylon powering your battery and your robot at the same time. That's a little bit risky. Now it's all about keeping track of this Terran army. That's where that Observer is for. Scan goes down. Bunny is sharp. He's paying attention. So he's going to make it a little bit harder, but that also means he needs to wait a few more seconds. Bunny knows that so far, not a lot of things have gone well in this game. He needs to find some magic in the next minute of this game, because if you wait a little bit longer, extended thermal lens is going to kick in, and then it's so much easier for the Protoss to move those units around defensively.
Third command center started on location. He's now focusing on worker production ahead of bio production. That tells us a lot about Bunny's intentions. Rather than just 100% diving non-stop looking for damage, he's going to poke for damage, but he is building some economy behind it. Double drop on the right, main army on the left, looking ready for the Doom drop. It feels like Stats should have already split his army by this point, but they're over in front of the natural, not the third.
Nope, he was very worried about the main army, so this is a nice little drop. Obviously, Bunny's going to pick up units as well. He's going to go for that drop in the main. I think in the end, it might still be okay-ish for Stats, though, because he did leave a lot of units behind, and if 3 workers is all that Bunny is going to get, Bunny can't possibly be happy. That's so many Phoenixes. Now we can start lifting some Marines one by one, but in the end, it's a few too many Marines to get unloaded. Stats lifting a couple of Marines is okay, but you can't lift all of them, because then your Phoenixes won't shoot anymore. It's a painful moment, right? It's close before a charge, and these Zealots are just so useless without charge.
Yeah.
Finally, the Colossus will make their way over, but your probes are going to be exposed here. He needs to move the probes away immediately.
Those Colossus going to do big damage, though. Bunny's got to get out. Great pickup timing from Bunny. I wish Stats had just focused the medevacs rather than picking up the Marines in the main base. He could have shot down 1 or 2 of those medevacs. This is a good move, though. Nothing shoots up there. Those Marauders are only anti-ground units. A couple Marines are there. This might be chasing a little bit too far.
There's no need at all to lift that Marauder there. He should have continued lifting the Marines. It's a bit of a shame there for Stats. Initially started off fantastic. Also, it kind of feels that if his armies were reversed, if those Phoenixes would have been dealing with that double drop in the third with like 1 or 2 Gateway units, and then you leave the Colossus in the main or natural, I think Stats' life would have been a lot easier, because in that initial double drop at the third base of Stats, there weren't too many units that shoot up.
Yeah.
Phoenixes could have taken care of 2 medevacs, not 3.
Ooh, big crazy Doom drop straight past the army to the main base. Phoenix are out left. It seems like a good move, but honestly, if Stats just runs his probes, he's going to stop a lot of these units from leaving. He can't lose his Phoenix, though. Stats, one of his Phoenix goes down. He's only got 4 left. He doesn't have a lot of anti-air. Zealots trying to get on top. The Colossus are derping around. Finally, the Colossus get in range, and that is a lot of Terran units going down.
Yeah, but the damage has already been dealt, though. That's 14 probes going down. I think a couple of medevacs should be able to make out, because he's going to boost them back. There are Marines waiting. There are a couple of Widow Mines there in the mix as well. There is an Observer of Stats. I think these trades are okay for Bunny, because he's not a 2-base all-inner, right? He already has 3 bases, pretty much fully saturated. He's going to take these gases. We have a Ghost Academy on the way. It almost feels that if Stats had a War Prism, he would love to just run to the other side of the map immediately right now. He has a War Prism, and then fight with Colossus and Archons. And if you can force this fight right before Ghosts are out, there is a chance that these Archons can shine like no tomorrow, but Stats needs to go about it real quick.
He's got to make that timing work now. He's taking big economic damage, only on 55 probes. Stats has to go. He realizes with those Colossus and Archons, this is his moment. The Vikings trying to kite back the turret, helping out a lot there. Colossus takes a little bit of damage. The Phoenix going up. The SCVs try to pull in, but Colossus Archon destroy SCVs.
Yeah, very odd place, by the way, for that Ghost Academy. And I know it's a very tanky building, but it's still not a building you want to lose. I hope that Bunny fired up a Ghoster 3. Yes, he did. 3 Ghosts are on the production tab. So eventually he's going to have access to some EMPs. One thing that Stats is going to suffer from here, by the way, is the lack of units that are good against Vikings.
Yeah.
Archons, sure, they're underneath them, but when are they ever underneath them? All the Phoenixes have died, and he never got Blink because he has taken a lot of economic damage. He just kind of invested in Zealot Charge. He doesn't have Blink Stalkers, only Archons.
He's not making any as well. So yeah, those Colossus are not long for this world. It feels like if Stats probes up here, he's still got a decent play, but he's rebuilding his Cyber Core because he can't make those Stalkers right now. He wants to make them, but he just can't. Warp Prism goes down, trying to head into the main. Still a lot of Zealot Archon here. Those Widow Mines need big hits. Good pulling back for Bunny. Great. Widow Mine hit takes out one of the observers. The Archons are falling. The Vikings on the right flank crumble it. And that is a very good hold for Bunny with the face of a killer right there.
It almost felt towards the end that Stats just decided to roll the dice. And he's like, well, I see your Ghost Academy. I haven't seen any ghosts yet. I just killed it. I really hope you won't have any ghosts. And if you don't, 5 Archons are going to make your life a living nightmare. But there were ghosts. And a couple of EMPs softened those big blue Archons up real quick. And then just a couple of Zealots. They can never win. Kudos to Bunny for finding an opening, because it really wasn't that easy. The start wasn't that pretty. Stance had decent map vision, had a high Phoenix count, which it's no strange to you pick, but I am very fond of. It just kind of felt that the way that Stats split up his army was not quite prime Stats. And if he would have reversed things, where the Phoenixes would have dealt with that double drop, and then the Colossus kept the main base safe, I actually think he would have been completely fine. And then you back that up with that great start that he had, it probably could have been Stats' game.
I agree. I think we see from guys like MaxPax recently, often the army split in 3 chunks. You've got a Colossus and a few gateway units on the right, Colossus a few gateway units on the left, and the Phoenix roaming. And I think you kind of need to do that, especially if you're taking the straight line base that he did. If you're on the triangle, maybe you can keep your whole ground army together for a little bit longer. But in the straight line, you can see it's so tempting for the Terran to drop the main and attack the third with a dive at the same time.
Yep, and then you see already tried to do that as well with all the Phoenixes, right? Like he started lifting a couple of Marines, but with 3 medevacs that are fully loaded with bio units, eventually there's just too much firepower, because enough units will shoot up. You have to take those Widow Mines into consideration as well, because if mines fire at your Phoenix, you're in a lot of trouble. If it would have just been the other way around, which is not an easy call to make, of course, but Stats in his prime always made those calls, and that's why we call him the Shield of Fire. It's a shame, because he did a lot of things right in the early game. Honestly, it looked very good up to that point.
I feel like this is Phoenix Colossus against Terran down to a T. It's this fine balancing act of tracking the Terran forces, being ready to intercept them, shutting down these drops. You do that for a minute or two, and it feels like such a powerful, unstoppable style. But if the Terran catches you just out of position a little bit, once or twice, it's a slippery slope.
And it's a super narrow window as well, because if the Phoenixes jump on the medevacs while the medevacs are still above bushes or dead airspace, then you can maybe kill one.
Can't even unload in time.
Yeah, but if you get on top of it while it's already being unloaded, then it's often just a little bit too late. It comes down 2 seconds, and that's what this man knows as well. On the top right side, he must win the next 2 games. Otherwise, unfortunately, his IEM Katowice 2024 journey is going to end here. This is Stats.
And in the bottom left side, a great start there, looking at confidence. But he's still got to, of course, finish it out. Representing Mystery Gaming, it is Bunny.
There was a time where I often spoke about group stage Bunny, because Bunny would just go to all these events and he was amazing in the group stage. He would win the group straight up, barely dropping a map, and you would really think that it was his time to shine. But then often in the quarterfinals when he often lost one-sidedly as well. It was an 0-3 exit, and it's like, oh man, that's such a shame, because he had a really good run up to this point. It's not really been the case this time around. As Waddy said, he didn't really come in as one of the favorites, but you still look at a guy like Bunny and you hope that he's been cooking up something in the dark, right? That he's really been working towards this event. It's been a bit of a rough start. The TVT is not really going his way. Game 1 against Stats here looked all right, but you know, Bunny in his prime also looked a little bit sharper. You think back of the Bunny who made it to the grand finals of the ESL Masters Atlanta, not the most recent edition, but the year prior to that, where he was awfully close to lifting that trophy. Like, it felt that Bunny was just this tornado that hit you and he never let go, and I haven't really seen that Bunny yet.
Yeah, I mean, you remember he beat Cyril in the semifinals, I think, or quarterfinals there, one of those matches, and he just didn't give Cyril room to get his feet underneath him. Like, it was a whirlwind of Terran aggression, and it carried through to the grand finals. He was up 3-1. And of course,
close.
Hero made some magic happen and did what Hero does and reversaled it. But it was a really cool breakthrough moment for Bunny, where, as you said, it was group stages and then kind of falling flat in the round of 8 or the round of 16 a lot of the time. Getting to that finals and making it so close was a big step up. And whilst he had a rough yesterday, today's a fresh day. It's a chance to reset, get a point on the board, or a second point, I should say.
Cool, Bunny going for triple CC over here. Not something we see ultra often in this matchup. Maybe he says, like, you played Stargate yesterday against Clem, you played Stargate here in game 1. There's a chance you play Stargate again. And I actually think the triple CC is very solid against Stargate. That is not going to be the case here. Stats is opening up with a Twilight Council. But I highly doubt that Stats is a 4-gate Blink Stalker player, so I think Bunny should still be fine. And even if it is 4-gate Blink Stalker, as a Terran you can hold, but then you do need a lot of bunkers. First Adeptus here quickly, but Reaper is going to push it away for now, and that CC is going to finish up. Probably just 2-gate, maybe 3-gate.
Yeah, I mean, if Stats gets aggressive with a Warp Prism, it's like 4 Stalkers and a Warp Prism. You know, it's the most conservative harassment tool that he can micro just very efficiently to pick away at you. Stats loves just picking at you with little pieces here and there, finding bits of advantage. And I always love a good 2-gate Blink Robo, personally. I think it is one of the most solid build orders out there. Decent sized map like Alcyon, it's fantastic.
But it is important that Stats, if he does that he expands quickly, because we don't want to be too safe against the Bunny, who's obviously being pretty greedy here. So far it is a 2-gate, Twilight Council, Blink on the way, going to warp in the robotics facility, and I think 1 probe is already heading out. So we are going to go up to 3 bases quickly. If you're Stats right now, as we're taking a little look at his first-person view, if I was him, I'd be a tiny bit concerned about the 3 racks, right? Where it's like, okay, I've seen a Reaper, I've seen a barracks on the high ground with a reactor, and now there is a bunker coming online as well. Like, I'd definitely be a tiny bit scared to go up to 3 bases, even though his build is not bad against 3 racks, and we know that it's not happening. It's still something that you really have to keep in mind, and I think that's why these Stalkers are here right now.
Dude, it's so lovely and calming watching Stats play. I've always been a big Stats fan. I remember getting my hands on some of his replays in like 2016 and just copying all of his build orders, but there's just something so organized about how he's very methodical. He's bouncing around. You could tell he's using a clean system. So many control groups at the bottom. He's got camera locations he's using, and the micro is super clean with the focus fire. Doesn't look frantic at all.
Yep. Did lose one of the Stalkers there against the Cyclone, so at this point, if you're Stats, you're probably wondering, like, okay, what exactly am I going up against? Because I've seen Marines, you had a Reaper, now you've got a Cyclone as well. I think he's kind of able to put 2 and 2 together and figure out that this is a triple CC opening, but he's still a bit wary of a drop that can't possibly happen because Bunny didn't have a starport yet. So he's not 100% certain, and that does sting a little bit, right? Because if he would know, he could go all-out Chrono Boost on the probes right now, because Bunny is not attacking you until Stim is online and most likely a medevac or 2 are around.
I mean, we've seen guys like Astraea, if they figure out you're doing 3 CC, they drop a 4th Nexus at 4 minutes. You know, they make like 70 probes immediately, and you get away with it because what kind of a Terran is going to push out without combat shields and medevacs? It's just, it's insanity. You're not going to do that. So you have to turtle up here as Bunny. The Observer's getting a bit of vision. I would like it to poke in and look for a little bit more. Nice denial.
That's insane, by the way, that Bunny sees it from here. Like, this is one of these moments where if you're streaming and you're laddering, like, man, how the hell did he see that? That was pretty far away. That's not
the beauty of low graphics as well, right? Like, that orange bit looks so hard for us to see an observer blur above. For them, they're like, this is why we play on low graphics. Everything, all the shininess is gone.
It's funny, because I've actually never shared that sentiment that it's easier to see on low graphics. I legitimately see DTs and observers and Banshees better in, like, medium or high graphics.
You're a wizard, man. That's impressive. I find some settings you do need to turn up.
I think I'm just old pig, but I don't know. Like, I see the blur better when the graphics are higher. I know it's a personal thing because I know a lot of people don't agree with that, but
well, to be fair for me, I've played on both and I still scan like, and there's no observer there. It's just a bit of the map. I'm like, I swear I saw a blur, man. Like, what the hell?
All right, so this game is about to get heated. Bunny has 61 SCV, Stats only 60, and this kind of goes back to Stats not immediately knowing this was a triple CC opening. He was probably a bit worried about a 3 racks or maybe a 1 barracks into factory into 2 more racks and an early move out, the old school Riyadh. That Riyadh, the builder Riyadh made famous at Katowice 2 years ago. And that's why the work count isn't quite as high as it could have been for stats. We're obviously used to seeing Protoss being a few workers ahead. To be even is not sweet, but then again, the man does have Colossus. He's working on some cannons already. We've got +2 on the way. Charge is about to finish up, so it's definitely not a disaster scenario for stats, but he does need to make sure he does not take any economic damage in the near future.
Yeah, army on the left, army on the right. Bunny just probing here. He's kind of looking for an opening, seeing if he can find a spot of weakness. Second Engineering Bay Armory going up behind it. He's going to go for that drop, but with a cannon there, he's going to have to fight that first of all. Great pro pull for Stats. Feels like Stats' whole army is pulled up here, which means his third base is slightly exposed. Nothing there to take advantage of it, though, for Bunny.
Bunny is shocking because he's got a little army potentially running into the natural. He's got a bunch of units still sitting on the right side, and he's got that drop waiting to go into the main, but Stats not F2ing, as you said in the beginning of the game. Left a few Stalkers right on the edge. I wouldn't even hate it if Stats would bring the Stalkers a tiny bit back, where you almost invite the Terran to drop, and then you blink forward immediately towards the edge, and you one-shot or two-shot it. This can did go down. Observer was spotted, but Observer does not fall. I'm a tiny bit concerned though. That just kind of feels hard stuck on 3 bases. He's 6 workers behind, and he is stacking up the Storm. That's fantastic. Now he left a couple of units behind. He's going to gun down 1 medevac very quickly. That is about it. I think we need a few more units than the 4 Zealots, 3 Stalkers in the cannon, but those units can't be too far away. Yeah,
well, you know what? He does take out 2 of the medevacs very quickly. The problem is he doesn't have many Stalkers left. We always talk about this stage of the game in PvT in terms of if the Terran can trade Bio for Stalkers repeatedly, it's very favored towards the Terran because Stalkers are so expensive. You're spending all your gas on Storm, Colossus, Archons. You don't have enough gas to rebuild many Stalkers, and this allows Bunny to take a 4th base, go Ghosts, double upgrades, and he's got those ship weapons for the Vikings and later Liberators on the way.
Yeah, Bunny is looking very good when it comes to the transitions we expect from a Terran. Very happy to see Stats finally warping in that 4th Nexus, because that is super important. What is inside of this High Templar? Are we going to Storm drop already? Is it? No, it's just a couple of Zealots.
Always funny to see Marauders chasing down a Warp Prism. It does end up unloading. The Vikings and the Marines actually getting it very low. If he wants to save it, the Viking is not too far behind.
These Zealots were amazing, by the way. They just killed 3 Marauders and 2 Marines. That's about as good as you were ever going to get there. That's even better than killing a few SCVs. It's going to keep Bunny's supply a little bit lower. Well done by Stats. Wouldn't hate a second Forge in this phase in the game, right? If we're going up to 4 bases, you've got a Robo, you've got Storm. I think a second Forge makes a lot of sense.
Zealots on the right side are ready to intercept. And once again, Bunny pushed back. So Bunny's not finding any big openings. He's going 8 racks now. And I believe he started a 5th command center. Unless he lost the SCV building his 4th one. No, that's a 5th command center, I believe, that he started. Wow.
Yeah, one is already floating over towards the 9 o'clock base. This drop, by the way, is finding a lot of damage. You mentioned earlier losing Stalkers is painful. Well, quite a few Stalkers have already gone down here. We're going to blink.
Oh, he's going to lose even more.
That means he's going to probably lose at least 1 more, even though those Marines are having a very hard time. Plus 1 Marine's not that powerful. Stats prioritizing a Stargate over a second Forge or a second Robo, or if you're classic, all 5 Robos at once. I don't know about this. And it feels that Stats is doing a lot of things. That is a sweet Storm, though, Piggy.
Great Storm on the Marines. The Zealot Archon Colossus starting to move north. Vikings zoning them well. He's got to get the rest of his army together. The initial EMPs took out 2 of the available Storms. 1 more High Templar on the right side. Does get EMP'd. Another High Templar coming in. Finally, a Storm lands on a few of the Vikings, but the Protoss army has been evaporated.
Yep, Stats does have some money in the bank. Maybe if he wipes in a few more units, he can actually stabilize, but these fights have simply not been good enough. +2 attack is now done as well for all these Marines, Marauders, and the Gulls. And that means that these Protoss units have a very hard time surviving without a single armor upgrade. Stats, the man who just walked in the Stargate, started dreaming of maybe some carriers, but Bunny says no. No carriers for you today. A quick, smooth, and easy 2-0 in the end for Mystery Gaming's Bunny, as he absolutely keeps